Theology can sometimes feel dry, and it can feel like it's hard work, and you can get to anyone else had the experience where you get to the end of a page and you've got no idea what you just read. So why do it? Why train and why learn theology? When I started at university, I thought I knew a lot, and then at the end of 3 years of theology, I realised I didn't know anything at all. And I began to discover how much of God there is to find out. The first commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. And theology at its best is learning to love God with our minds. It's learning to discover who he is. Since I got married, one of the things that's happened is I've been discovering more about my wife, and we've had a number of occasions where I've made mistakes. She calls me sometimes, if I eat a lot, a little piggy. One of the things I've discovered is that if I call her a little piggy when she eats a lot, that is not cool. And what I do is I think, note to self, I must not call Beth a little piggy. On other occasions, I say something that I'm not intending to be funny, but for some reason she finds it funny. And then in my head, I think, note to self, Beth finds that funny. I must use that again. And I begin to grow in my ability to love Beth the more that I understand her with my mind. We can sometimes think, on the one hand, it's about experience and the mind isn't involved. But of course, the mind is involved in any relationship that has depth. The more that we understand God, the better that we can love him. And not only that, but the more we understand God, the better we can lead others towards him. C.S. Lewis tells a story about a guy who stood up during one of his lectures and said, I don't need all this stuff you're saying about God. I don't need all this doctrine that you're churning out. I know God because I've had an experience of him one time when I was out alone in the desert. And Lewis's response to this guy was, yeah, he probably did have an experience of God. And I can understand why turning from that experience and that encounter to talking about God, to learning something like doctrine, might have seemed like turning from something real to something less real. A little like turning from looking at the Atlantic Ocean to looking at a map of the ocean. He said, I can understand why he would say that. But he says an experience of God is like walking along a beach and you see the ocean. To understand him is like getting the map out, and it's understanding the whole picture. And with the map, with theology, with doctrine, it's not just about our experience, but it's about everyone who's gone before us and how they've found God and how they've discovered him. The more we understand God, the more we can take people on a journey to America.